Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. We are reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, canto 1, chapter 15, Pandavas depart. So in the last two chapters, we saw a lot of departures. We saw Vidura arriving and then making Dhritarashtra and Gandhari depart. They went to the forest. They gave up, they renounced, and Dhritarashtra realized that he was living a vain life. And he was just living like a dog at the door of Yudhishthir. So he left. And right after that, previous chapter, we saw how Arjuna comes back with the news that Krishna had left. And all the Yadus had fought amongst each other, they killed each other, and the Yadu dynasty was also finished. And Krishna had already departed. So for us, as we're studying Srimad Bhagavatam, Krishna's departure, Srimad Bhagavatam says, Krishne svadhamo pagate dharma jnanadi bisaha kalau nashtam drisham isha puranarko adunodita. So when Krishna left, dharma and jnana also left. Religiosity, truthfulness also left. And knowledge left. But then Srimad Bhagavatam has arisen like that sun, which dissipates that darkness. Krishna is Srimad Bhagavatam. Okay, so this is our light. And so it was for Pandavas. But imagine having personal association of Krishna and Krishna having departed. This is the state of Pandavas, what we're reading in this chapter. After hearing that Krishna and his family have all left this world, the Pandavas decide to retire. For some moments, Arjuna said nothing, remembering the Lord's kindness, friendship, intimate familial relations, and his chariot driving. Arjuna was overwhelmed with feelings of separation. Composing himself with great effort, he began to speak. The Supreme Lord Krishna, who treated me as his dearest friend, has left me. I have just lost he whose absence for a moment would render all the worlds repulsive like bodies without life. Because of his departure, my astounding power that amazed even the gods is also gone. Arjuna again broke down weeping. Yudhishthira gaped at him, unable to speak. His other brothers had entered the court on hearing of Arjuna's return. They too looked shocked. Krishna had left? Their greatest well-wishing friend and beloved Lord. Weakened by the news, they stumbled to their seats, burying their faces in their hands. Once seated, Arjuna collected his thoughts and calmed himself. Taking a deep breath, he said, by Krishna's grace, I overcame the world's monarchs to win the celestially beautiful Draupadi, succeeding in a near impossible test of arms. With him by my side, I defeated the gods in a battle and compelled the celestial architect Maya Danava to build the incomparable Maya Sabha assembly house. And thanks to him, our brother Bhima was able to slay King Jarasandha, who had conquered thousands of other kings. Arjuna's brothers listened in stunned silence as he recalled the numerous times Krishna had saved them from catastrophe, particularly during the battle of Kurukshetra. The Kauravas' military strength was like an ocean in which dwelt many invincible shock-like fighters. It was insurmountable. Only because of Krishna's friendship was I able to cross it safely. By his mere glance, he withdrew those warriors' life duration. The Lord thus sapped the inspiration, power, and enthusiasm from the prodigious martial array headed by Bhishma, Karna, Drona, Shalya, and other mighty heroes. Their arrangement was expert and inseparable, but Krishna neutralized it as he drove my chariot forward. The great generals, although directing unstoppable weapons at me, could not touch even a hair on my head. As he remembered his familiarity with Krishna, Arjuna trembled with grief. Surely it was only due to a lack of esteem for my Lord that I dared engage him as my chariot driver, for he is worshipped and offered services by the best of men who desire salvation. Krishna and I would eat, sleep, and pass our leisure hours together. I became so intimate with him that I would joke and playfully deride him, laughing when he spoke of his chivalry, saying, "Of course, my friend, of course." He never took offense and excused my audacity exactly as a friend would excuse another friend, or a lover his beloved. Separated from my dearest well-wisher, the best of all persons, my heart is broken, and there is no purpose to my life. The 5 brothers sat in stunned silence for some time, thinking only of Krishna. Their grief from Krishna's separation intensified their loving feelings, and they forgot everything else, even the existence of their own bodies. Arjuna became increasingly disconsolate as he explained how after Krishna's departure, he had been entrusted to bring the Lord's queens to Hastinapura. I was then attacked by a band of ruffian cowards who kidnapped those ladies despite my attempts to protect them. I fought with the same Gandiva bow with which I overcame the gods. I rode upon the same chariot, carried the same inexhaustible quiver of arrows, and I am the same Arjuna who is respected and feared by all. Yet, in an instant, it has all been rendered useless due to Krishna's absence. Arjuna's brothers looked at him in disbelief. Defeated by coward men? Arjuna told Yudhishthira of the fate of Krishna's family and dynasty. Since you asked me about the Yadus, I will tell you, though it pains me greatly. Intoxicated with wine and afflicted by a Brahminical curse, they fought together with iron bars, hardly recognizing each other. Now all but 4 or 5 of them are dead and gone. His 4 brothers turned ashen. How could the virtuous Yadus have killed one another? It was unthinkable. Bhima was the first to speak. Surely this was engineered by Krishna so that his associates would leave with him. How else could the Lord's invincible sons and grandsons have been slain? No one on earth could have killed them. Arjuna agreed. It had been Krishna's will. As in the ocean, the bigger fish swallow the smaller, so the Lord engaged one Yadu to kill another. And then he too departed. Becoming silent, Arjuna began to meditate on the instructions Krishna had spoken at the commencement of the battle of Kurukshetra. Gradually, he felt his sorrow subside and his mind become free from illusion. Somebody likes to volunteer to read? Please feel free.
Shall I continue, Mataji?
Yeah.
Yudhishthira began to think of the future. He knew that in Krishna's absence, Kali's influence would spread, characterized by increasing avarice, falsehood, cheating, and violence. He remembered that Narada had instructed him to retire and follow his lord. Thus, he made arrangements for Parikrit to be crowded as the next king of Hastinapur. He also installed Krishna's great grandson Vajra as the king in Mathura. After enthroning Parikrit and Vajra, he and his brothers gave up their royal dress and put on simple cloth. With their minds fixed on attaining Krishna's eternal association, they set out from their city without telling anyone. They walked toward the mountains, oblivious to everything and appearing like madmen. In due course, they left this world and went to Krishna's eternal spiritual planet. Their wife, Draupadi, and mother, Kunti, also fixed their minds on the Lord and ascended to his abode. As Shuta brought his narrative to an end, the sages sat in silence, many of them shedding tears. Krishna and his entire family, as well as the mighty Pandavas and their relatives, were all gone. What a terrible loss for the earth! How unfortunate they were not to have been able to see them. Sensing their mood, Sutta spoke. The Lord and his pastimes are eternal, always visible to his pure devotees. Please also understand that Jadus did not die in the same way a conditioned soul dies. Many of the gods entered the Jadu family to assist the Lord in killing the demonic kings. On the pretext of
Tragedy.
fratricidal slaughter, those gods returned to their heavenly posts. The Lord's eternal associates, however, returned with him to his never-ending pastimes in the eternal Dwaraka. The Pandavas also reached him in their self-same spiritual bodies, in which they always serve him. Shanuka sat quietly, assimilating this information. It was not easy to understand Krishna's activities. After some moments, he
Thank you, Rajshri. Somebody else likes to
thank you,
volunteer?
Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Relatives were all gone. What a terrible loss for the earth. Oh, sorry. Said, did Krishna take part in the fight between the Yadus? Did he like them also leave his body? Sutta said, Krishna never gives up his body. All his forms are eternal, sometimes manifest and sometimes not. Like a magician, he seems to relinquish his body, but he never factually has a material form. Will his apparent death not confuse people into thinking he's like them? Asked Shaunaka. The devotees are never confused, replied Sutta. Only the atheists will take this episode as proof that Krishna is a mere mortal. This is Krishna's desire, for he never reveals himself to those who envy him. Thus, he creates an illusion of his departure. It is not a happy illusion, stated Shaunaka, smiling weakly. Sutta chuckled. No, my friend, but grief for the departure of the Lord and his great devotees is another aspect of prema. Indeed, anyone who faithfully hears such subjects will attain pure devotion to Krishna. Loud shouts of approval arose from the sages. Loud shouts of approval arose from the sages. Shaunaka said, pray tell us what happened after the Pandavas left and Parikshit assumed the throne.
Thank you, Vilas Manjari. So let's pause here. Anybody has any questions, comments? So Krishna has left. The Pandavas are preparing their minds towards their next destination. So much grief, you see, so much sacrifice. So sometimes we think to be a leader, to have fans is something cool and nice, but it's a path of austerity. It's a path of sacrifice. to be able to set an example, we need to keep away self-will and do God's will. And this is what we're seeing in Pandava's example. They kept that self-will aside and they aligned to God's will. Yes, from an external point of view, acting according to God's will might seem daunting, might seem, oh my God, that's so difficult. But in reality, when we become an instrument, it's not that the knife is doing the efforts to cut the vegetables, it's just an instrument. The person who's cutting is doing the work. Similarly, when we become an instrument in the hands of the Lord, the Supreme Lord, then even those most difficult things, Krishna gives us the strength to face it. The strength to do His will is all we need to pray for. Because the Lord has a plan. He orchestrates everything. We don't need to control a thing. Just need to let go and become an instrument in His hands. Become a channel of love and peace. There's nothing we need to separately do. Krishna says in the Gita, Kartaham miti manyate. Out of pride, we think I'm the doer. No, we are not the doer. Okay, somebody else likes to take over from the next chapter? Sure.
Yes, I'll read. Parikshit becomes king. Parikshit sees signs of Kali Yuga's degradation appearing in the world and sets out on an expedition to purge the earth of all corrupt elements. Meanwhile, the earth goddess Bhumi and the god of religion Dharma come to the earth and speak together about their harassed condition. Sutta began to narrate Parikshit's history. Parikshit perfectly fulfilled all predictions made by the Brahmins at his birth. Under his reign, the world prospered with the elderly Kripacharya as his chief priest. He performed great religious rituals at which even ordinary men saw the gods. After marrying Princess Iravati of Virat, he fathered 4 sons who became powerful rulers of the earth. Sutta described how Parikshit encountered the personality of Kali, who presides over the age. Finding Kali attacking a cow and bull, the king arrested him. Why did he not just kill him? Asked Shaunaka. Surely that is the appropriate punishment for such a crime. Besides which, how did he ascertain that it was Kali? As soon as he asked the question, Shaunaka had second thoughts. He did not want to distract Sutta from speaking about Krishna. Dear Sutta, my inquiry was foolish. No one here is interested in worldly politics. We only want to hear discussions about Krishna, which are like the nectar of immortality. Any other subjects merely steal away one's duration of life. Instead, the very Lord of Death, Yamraj himself, is attracted to hear about Krishna. Therefore, those who always engage in such discussions will not fall victim to his influence. Looking over the assembly of sages, many of whom were nodding in concurrence with his words, Shaunaka concluded, "We do not want to be like foolish men who waste their short lives uselessly engaged in either in idle talks and works or in sleeping, thus never finding time to hear about Krishna." Sutta reassured Shaunaka that because the question related to the actions of the great devotee Parikshit, the answer was enlightening as topics directly dealing with Krishna. Indeed, histories of the Lord's great devotees are as spiritually powerful as those about Krishna himself.
Let's pause here. So this point here, wow, so relevant, so relevant. We do not want to be like foolish men. What do foolish men do? Either they waste their short lives uselessly by engaged either in idle talks and works, passion, total mode of passion, speaking things which do not give any benefit to others or ourselves, and works like actions that, we are active, running around like monkeys, but then we do not know what's the purpose of it. Or tamas, which is sleeping. So, we all have that experience. At least I have plenty of the experience, either mode of passion or mode of ignorance. When we engage in the mode of passion, when we are engaged in purposeless efforts, purposeless conversation, it drains the soul. It makes us lose our sense of purpose. It makes us lose our sense of existence, even, which is like, it becomes meaningless. And then we go into tamas. Then we don't feel to get up in the morning. We don't want to chant. We don't want to do things. But why? Because I'm depressed. I'm feeling sad. Why are we feeling sad? Because we're not living our purpose. We're not aligned to God's will. That's why we are tamasic, and we want to sleep too much, because we don't want to face that grief. We don't want to face that emotion of disappointment about our life. Yes, there are disappointments. Yes, there are pains. There are miseries. Yes, we will mess up, and we have had our share of guilt and shame. But that shouldn't stop us. And living a life means engaging ourselves in thinking about the Lord, in chanting His holy names, in reading His glories, in associating with devotees. And that's why these sanghas are very important, because we are not just talking high philosophy, which is intellectual. We're talking about things that we can apply. It's like applied knowledge, how we can make our life purposeful and meaningful. We lose our belonging to Krishna, absolutely. As Khushbu is saying, we lose that connection, and then the connection is lost. It's like, imagine your mobile tower connection is lost. Who are you going to connect to? Nobody. So as long as we're not connected to the source is Krishna, we lose that sense of belonging. And then we walk around like dead bodies trying to find a sense of belonging with people who are limited, with efforts which are mundane. And we're trying to find our identity and make our sense of success with this world, which is meaningless. And we run after people thinking they will give us shelter. We run after people thinking that they will give us a sense of belonging. But they are themselves just bag of bones made from blood, urine, stool, hair, and mucus. Why do we think that these people can give us shelter? Why do we put our faith in them? Didn't we live for the last 30, 40 years by ourselves and survive? Why now do we think that if this person doesn't pay attention to us, doesn't validate us, doesn't make us feel belong, we are lost? No, my dear, you're not lost. You belong to Krishna. Your sense of belonging is with Krishna. When you remember who you are, nothing of this world, no disappointment, no hurts, no humiliation can get inside your skin. And I have seen that through example, my grandmother living like that, not letting it get inside us, remembering always who you are. Remember, you belong to Krishna. Everybody is struggling. Everybody is struggling. So we shouldn't run after temporary substitutes. We should just run after Krishna. Today is auspicious Ram Navami. So today is a very great day. Rama is the Lord of sun, S-U-N, the sun god. The sun planet rules our sense of self, our identities, our self-worth, dignity, our health, our relationship with authority figures, our relationship with men. So to empower sun in our charts, in our karmic baggage, because sun is not always like a positive, and how do you call it? Like, it's not like a pleasant planet. It's very intense. Look at Lord Ram's life, full of austerities, full of sacrifices. We need to do some sacrifice in order to find our real self. What is that sacrifice? To remember who you are. To remember we're a child of God. You're a precious child of God. Krishna loves you. You know that? That's the point of Srimad Bhagavatam, the culmination of knowledge. Krishna loves you. You don't need to bend down, crawl, lick the feet of other people to find your sense of identity, to find your sense of belonging. Don't need to do that. You already have that. So stay connected to that. Remember who you are. That's the basis of spiritual knowledge, to remember who you are, to remember that Krishna loves you. Okay, can we have another volunteer to conclude the reading for today? You can start from I shall.
There is Aisha. Looking, okay, sorry. Therefore, answer your question by describing this episode. Please listen. Parikshit sat on his throne deep in thought. He had just returned from an incognito tour of his kingdom and was greatly disturbed at what he had seen. Moving about the country in disguise, he found his citizens engaging in sinful activities. He saw some drinking liquor, others gambling, and still others engaging in public displays of passion. How was this possible under his rule? News had previously reached him of neighboring states that was straying from the path of Dharma under the rule of impious kings. It seemed their influence was infiltrating his own kingdom. Determining to rectify the situation, the king commanded his minister, "Ready the troops, we shall march tomorrow at dawn." Although the degradation in his domain was troubling as a mighty warrior, Parikshit was pleased for an opportunity to exercise his military prowess. He embarked at once on an expedition to ensure all parts of the globe were cleansed of corruption. Mounting a war chariot drawn by great black steeds and bearing the emblem of a lion, he rode out at the head of a vast army. Wherever he traveled, he heard stirring recitations of his forefathers' glories, especially of the Pandavas and their intimate relationship with Krishna. He heard how the Lord had protected and even served them. Listening to these accounts, Parikshit's eyes welled with tears of ecstasy. He rewarded the speakers with priceless pearl necklaces and costly garments. Parikshit asserted his righteous rule throughout the earth, including those regions inhabited by celestial beings, which ordinarily cannot be reached by humans. As he continued on his campaign, the earth goddesses, Bhumi, and religion personified Dharma came to the world. Appearing as a cow and a bull respectively, they met together. Bhumi wept piteously as Dharma questioned her. "Good lady, why do you appear so sad? Are you lamenting because in this terrible age low-class men will exploit your resources, wantonly slaughtering poor animals? Or are you distressed because the gods will stop receiving your produce in sacrificial offerings? Perhaps you're sorry because soon the creatures you sustain will have to endure famine and drought. Is your anguish due to the impending proliferation of irreligious Brahmins and atheistic corrupt leaders who will abuse women and children? Or are you sorry because the general populace will soon abandon the rules of civilized life?" Dharma concluded that the greatest misfortune was the termination of Krishna's earthly pastimes. "This must be why you are now feeling bereft. Time is surely invincible, for I see that even you, the reservoir of riches, have been reduced to this pitiable state." With her large and doleful eyes, Bhumi looked at Dharma in his form as a pure white bull and said, "Great Lord of religion, I see that you too are in a sorry condition. Once you stood firmly on your four legs, increasing happiness all over the universe." Bhumi shed tears to see Dharma's pitiful condition. His four legs were truth, austerity, mercy, and cleanliness, the four chief principles of religion. With each successive age, one of them had been broken. Now that the age of Kali had arrived, he stood on only the leg of truth. Even that was now threatened. Taking a deep breath, Bhumi continued, "Oh, where is the Lord gone? All goodness reside in him, and in his presence we flourished. While the Lord's auspicious footprints graced me, I felt unlimitedly blessed. Previously, I had been distressed because I was overburdened by the military forces of ambitious demons. You also suffered at the hands of these atheists, and we are relieved only by Krishna's merciful appearance. Now, in his absence, Kali spreads his evil everywhere."
Thank you, Taranirada, for reading. So, wow, you can see this is Kali Yuga. It started 5,000 years ago. After Krishna left, things started getting more chaotic. And every day we can see that chaos ensuing around us. So when we come to devotional practice, when we read about Prahlad and when we read about Parikshit, we read about Yudhishthir, naturally the mind wants to take shelter of somebody like that. And every time my mind goes towards taking shelter of the men of this world, two instructions comes to my mind. One is that of Rukmini. She says that men of this world are just bag of bones. How can you put your faith and trust in their hands? And the second thing is Draupadi. 5 most powerful husbands. Still, they could not protect her honor. They were present right there. Like when maybe sometimes we feel our partners don't call us or don't message us enough. And we are like complaining about it and feeling, losing a sense of dignity and self-worth because we don't get attention when we need. Or maybe our partners don't say the nicest things that we want to hear. And we're giving ourselves away. We're giving completely our power to the men of this world. First thing is they're struggling. Second thing, they may have their own anarthas. Third thing is we shouldn't walk towards each other in this world. We should walk towards Krishna. All these very ungracious things will keep happening. Divorces will keep happening. Betrayals will keep happening. People will be wounded. People will cheat. People will lie. People will manipulate. People will become more and more selfish. Everything is about themselves. Nobody anymore will have that capacity to love unconditionally. And Srila Prabhupada said that love that we're looking for in this world, the closest possible is the love of a mother towards the child. That's it. Every other form of love in this world is contaminated by that sense of selfishness. Yet, we think, in one sense, we think we are special and we will get something, to cling to. In another sense, we think we're so, less valuable. Like we think we're lacking so much value that we want to settle for crumbs. In psychology, there's an expression called breadcrumbing. It means like keeping the relationship kind of going, but it's not satisfying. So that's the nature of the relationships in this world. Because of our karma, my grandmother often says, whenever I ask her, how did you endure so much difficulties? She says, well, it's not the demigods were just sitting there bored and then they gave me this karma. It's my own actions, my own decisions that caused me this karma. So that taking responsibility and saying, things are going to go bad. In this world, things are going to go to hell. We cannot cling here. We cannot. One of my mentors used to say, no matter what difficulties, she was taking always shelter of Srimad Bhagavatam. Oh, whatever happens, take shelter of the holy name. And this person would sleep like 2 or 3 hours because she was professional and working, etc. But she would definitely spend time with the holy name and Bhagavatam no matter what happens. And then she said, I dig my heels in Srimad Bhagavatam because that's the sun which is going to bring some light into life because everything else is dark. And I saw this person having family difficulties with relationships in marriage, difficulties with relationship with children, so many problems in congregation. Even sometimes we think devotee men are reliable, but no, devotee men have their own baggage as well. And in Kali Yuga, even it is said that men are not exactly like in what we are reading from Parikshit's time or Pandava's time. So these are very this is what it means to wake up from that ignorance, Jeev jago Gaura Chandra bole. So to wake up to reality means to know that there is danger at every step. Waking up to reality means to not put our faith and our sense of worth and value in other people's opinions. How it's, I was reading a quote yesterday about breakups, and I was reading how a breakup is not defining your sense of self-worth and value. Breakup is only suggesting an incompatibility towards life purpose. If we can change that perspective and remember who you are, remember your sense of identity, then we are not going to get bogged down by these temporary things, trivial things that we get stuck on, but we can move on. Progress in your life. It's okay. Yesterday you were stuck on something. It's okay. You don't have to be stuck on it today. You don't have to spend another day lamenting, why was I stuck yesterday? Move on. Get into the Sangha, study, process those emotions, liberate them, release those emotions. I fully release my sense of shame. I fully release my sense of unworthiness because I remember now I'm a child of God. So my dear friends, today is Ram Navami. Let us focus on that sense of being and let us do our affirmations. What would you like? What is your prayer today? How would you like to stand on your own leg and know that Krishna loves you and be sheltered by that identity and not give up, to not fall, to not crawl before anybody else? Although we may tolerate, we may do our duty, but to remember the nature of this flickering world and the existence in this world and the identities of this world. Let us not strive after something that is vain. Let's go after our real self-realization. Thank you very much for your attention. Let's do our affirmations.
Yes, I would like to say, like, I have to understand either it's suffering, joy, it's all Krishna's mercy. There must be purpose. When Krishna puts me in suffering, there must be some purpose. So we should welcome because it's Krishna's mercy. Tatya Anukampam, it says. So Krishna's mercy, that is his reforming me. So Prabhupada also says, like when we are going through, it may appear to be a suffering, but it's not. It's an opportunity, a gift from Krishna. So it is meant to reform, and so we can further advance in devotional service. That's what I can say. Thank you, Hare Krishna.
Right. Yeah. And remember, the bull lost its 3 legs, right? The only leg is truth. So we need to be honest with ourselves and with Krishna, where we are. So,
And sincere also, yes.
if for those of you who cannot speak, you can type it in the chat box, the affirmation, and we will read it for you.
Hare
I would
Krishna.
like to go. Acha, okay, you go.
Hare Krishna, I just want to affirm that I want to be instrument in Lord's will, and which means I'm not a performer, and which means whatever the skills I see or whatever the good things I see about me, due to which I feel false pride, they're not mine. They have origin. They're Krishna's. Yeah, I just want to, with that mood, I want to affirm with that I don't want to continue to feed my false pride. Means claiming that I own those things, like, claiming for virtues which I don't possess. That's false pride. That's what I was realizing today. So I want to stop feeding that, and I just want to be instrument like that knife, acknowledging that whatever I have is coming from Krishna. It's not my own. Hare Krishna.
Mm-hmm.
Hare Krishna, I would like to go with my affirmations. Firstly, I will meditate as I was doing while going through the Bhagavatam, so that the goodness of the Krishna gets imprinted within me, and which will give me the strength to remain aligned with Krishna's will, Krishna's purity throughout that day, and not getting aligned. Although need to remain in the materialistic world, but will not get aligned with the materialistic activities, wantings of life. Will remain drawn with Krishna's, will remain aligned and drawn with Krishna's purity only throughout the day. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna. I would like to affirm today that just like the bull, which was resting on that one leg of truth, for me, and the 3 legs were like broken, Likewise, for me, even though because of the nature of this Kali Yuga, where things are like so depressing outside the news, when we see the news that's going on and shooting and things like that. So even if that things like those inauspicious things just like kind of break my leg, and that's one leg, the other leg is like even those close relationships that we trust, and then even in that when we understand that they're just bags of flesh, and they have their own stories, and then their own relationships that they are discovering with Krishna. So even though both of my legs are kind of broken because of these situations, one's external, one is internal, yet each time I'm going to get up, and that strength is going to be because of the love that Krishna has for me. So each time the legs are broken, I'm going to keep getting up, remembering that Krishna loves me. So this is what I would like to affirm myself. Thank you.
Jai. Powerful thought to hold in our minds.
Hare Krishna. Thank you for facilitating the reading, Shri. I'm reminded of a few things, but in particular, there's one thing that you said today about to not cling on to the suffering that I had yesterday or the day before and move on today. And that reminded me of something that one of my educational mentors used to tell me for an exam, that it's a time-based exam for 3 hours, and you might feel that you've put in 5 minutes into one question and you're not able to get to the answer. Does not mean you spend another 10 minutes over it. You move to the next question, because the idea is to move past the exam and clear it, and not to get that one question correct. So I was just relating that with picking the right battles for the day that take me closer to Krishna, and not the ones that suck up all the energy that I can potentially give to him and my relationship with him. So I think today I would just want to do that, figuring out what needs more attention and what will take me closer to him.
Yes. Thank you. Sweet realizations. Let us remember that. I can go next. I'd like to affirm that I wish to remember, I will remember that Krishna loves me. I want to remember that this age of Kali is degradation is very easy. It's easy like going downstairs, down is very easy. To climb up is hard. And I want to guard myself from going down in my thoughts, in my actions, in my words. And I want to uplift myself. And I want to affirm that I will do actions that will uplift my consciousness. I will be with people that uplift me. And I will read literature and watch things that uplift my consciousness, because in this day and age, it's very easy to get degraded. And I will guard myself against this degradation and dedicate every second to Krishna, and to not waste it in Rajas and Tamas. I offer myself to Krishna. Thank you very much.
Hare Krishna. Today my affirmation would be that I will do my duties dutifully and try to depend on Krishna more. I'll go to the temple to have darshan of my Sri Sri Radha Govinda, and Krishna's glances will help me remember that I belong to him.
Yes. Jai. Yes. Krishna belongs to us and we belong to Krishna. What eternal shelter. Oh, we have a couple of readings. Somebody likes to volunteer to read. We have Anuradha share, we have Ashka, and we have Kalpana. Please go ahead, Yamuna.
Shall I read?
Yeah, first Yamuna can read, then Rajshri can read.
I will read another Mataji's affirmation. Dear Krishna, I pray I can walk forward towards you as me, and not my need to walk with others. Needing others as a crutch, that you are eager to accept me as I am.
Ah, so nice. Yes. You don't need the crutches. Thank you. Good reminder. Okay, Rajshri, you want to read Ashka's?
Yes. Yeah. Krishna gives strength, focus on your lotus feet. Use me as your instrument. No matter how worse situation, always remind you.
Jai. Yes. Let us be an instrument in his hands, no matter the situation. Yes, good focus.
Then Kalpana's is there. Today I will pray to Lord to give me the strength, accept the challenges, and to make me realize I am precious child of Krishna. Krishna will not mine be done.
Yes,
Haribol.
you're a precious child of God, Kalpana. You're a precious child of Krishna. Remember that. You're not alone.
Mataji, you have written picking our battles. What does it mean?
Oh, I was just summarizing what Yamuna was saying, that we should pick our battles and not get stuck.
Oh, acha. Thank you.
No, sometimes when some of you are sharing, some wisdom is coming out. So I'm trying to like take that and capture it. That's all. Okay, Rasa Sthali, would you like to go?
Yeah, I just said.
Oh, yes. Thank you. Okay, so have a fantastic Ram Navami for those of you in India, and for those of you going to sleep. Good night and take care. Take care of yourself and remember Krishna loves you. Remember who you are before you get into what you want to do and who you want to connect with. Thank you very much. And for those of you who like to stay back, I'm going to recite Nama Ramayana. I mean, I was thinking to recite for myself, but if you like to stay back, I will recite this Nama Ramayana. It's like Ramayana in a very short form. It's like a 5-10 minute thing. If you like to stay back, you can. I'm going to end the